Welcome to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, your weekly dose of news and advice that comes to your pocket every single Saturday. Holding it down, here we got Mac, Mark, Scott, and Landon. Enjoy today's show.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Today in the spotlight, we've got another addition to the most up-made team, the biggest glow-up of the 2019-2020 offseason, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With their 76th pick in the NFL draft, they selected Vaughn, running back out of Vanderbilt. So with the addition of this player into their system, they have yet another weapon. We will see if he has the potential to have fantasy impact, if there's room on that depth chart for Tom Brady to get him the ball. There's really a lot of factors to consider here. But personally, as a Buccaneers fan, I'm pretty happy with the ad here. I think he's going to be a good dynamic player for us. And looking at him fantasy-wise, can't really predict what's going to happen down there. They are going to go into undefeated this year, so that's going to help. But Scott, why don't you take it away and let us know how you feel about him?
You know what? I really have some good things to say about the Buccaneers today, and God, it takes me back. But I'm really psyched about this player. I would talk about this in a lot of videos that sometimes I'm not ready to draft someone saying, man, in 2, 3, 4 years, like this guy's going to kill it. I think he's going to kill it this season. I think 2020 is going to be a relevant fantasy season for Vaughn. I think the Bucs have done probably the best overhaul of a franchise in professional sports that I've seen since, the Raptors got a little guy named Kawhi. No matter what happens, it's going to be interesting. And the thing that gets me so excited about this is Tom Brady is not a gunslinger. He's not Brett Favre. He is the GOAT. He's the best at being controlled, getting the lead, and winning games. And what I always say is to win, once you have the lead, to win games, you need a sturdy running back to grind out the clock and get you the win. And that's who I think Vaughn, the role he's going to fill. Now, I know he's not much of a pass catcher. That doesn't bode well for him in fantasy, but in this super loaded offense, you have to think that they're going to get the lead a ton. And the other thing going for him is, sorry, Mark, but the Tampa Bay running room is a disaster. It has been painful to watch for many fantasy years. And I really just think out of almost all the running back rooms in the NFL for a rookie to walk into and just seize, I think he's going to be the one to do it. Tom Brady is new to Tampa. He has zero allegiances to any of the old moderate to mediocre running backs that happen to be there. So if he comes in, is polite to Mr. Brady, impresses him, he could be the RB1 on the first day of the regular season, and he could just have a phenomenal season. Boys, what do you think?
So, Scotty, I would actually say that he's quite a decent pass catcher. If you look at the college dominator rankings, the only player in this class at the running back position to best him in pass catching work is Jonathan Taylor, who is quite the pass catcher. So, Vaughn in this class is actually at the top. And so I do think he provides a lot of the skill sets that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been seeking and haven't been able to get out of Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones. The biggest struggle with those two is Jameis needed a safety valve, and it wasn't there. And the second thing was Jameis needed time. And Ronald Jones, who they've wanted for him to become the guy, he can't go out and pass pro. He just can't do it. And so I think Vaughn stepping into this role for the 2020 season has a really good chance to succeed, not only in Dynasty, but for redraft purposes. I could really see Vaughn getting the lead role by week 6 or 7. Dude is built for the NFL, 5'10", 217 pounds. That's how a good running back should be built. Strong, sturdy. pretty good runner, not a lot of wear on the tires, only 200 attempts in his final year at Vanderbilt. I like this kid. I think he's worth spending up on, especially in Dynasty. And the thing I've always said in Dynasty is, like, if you can get those rookie running backs who can hit home runs in their early years, they offer great trade value. And you can go and get that wide receiver that you always wanted because they have longer shelf lives. Lando, what do you think about that?
Mac, I love that strategy. So we all know that wide receivers play longer in the NFL, but it's hard for them to accrue value quickly. The A.J. Browns and DK Metcalfs are exceptions to the rule. Like, it takes some time. Like, a Devontae Adams took several years for him to be that elite wide receiver. So, but you're right. Running backs are that flash in the pan, and everyone wants that running back. Like, you saw Devin Singletary really skyrocketed in value this year. I know they drafted Zach Moss, and that's kind of put a damper on his ADP. But early in the offseason, you would have had pay a small fortune for Singletary, and I see that kind of future in Keyshawn Vaughn as well. The only concern I have, so for dynasty purposes, the longevity of Tom Brady. He is a senior coming out of college, but for redraft and for most dynasty players, that really doesn't matter. They don't really care that much about that, especially when they're trading in the next couple of years. I think he's going to get overdrafted when it comes to your redraft leagues. People are going to want him as the new hotness. He's going to go early. He's going to go ahead of a guy like Marlon Mack or Phillip Lindsay, people that have been in the league, because we've wanted that workhorse running back in Tampa Bay for so long. Now that Tom Brady's there, it seems like the upside is so much more glorious, when in reality, the Jameis was great for fantasy. Throwing those pick sixes was amazing for fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Tom Brady's the game manager, and that will help Keyshawn Vaughn, but that's not going to be any secret. He always likes the James White, the check down passes. Mike Evans could take a hit. Godwin will be a great slot guy, but Keyshawn Vaughn could be a security blanket. What I do like about Keyshawn is he's good at pass blocking. He's good at staying back in pass blocking, and we know Bruce Arians really needs his running backs to do that. So Ronald Jones, even though he might get the first shot at being that running back, could miss a blitz, miss a linebacker, and then Keyshawn Vaughn is willing to stick his neck in there, stick his head, his nose right in that play, and he will earn that starting role. David Johnson got benched out of nowhere because he missed a block. Mm-hmm. Same idea. What were you going to say, Mac?
I was going to say, like, they brought in Dare Ogunbowale to do just that, offer pass protection and catch out of the backfield. Like, they needed a guy that was able to do the things that Ronald Jones was not able to do.
Sure.
So, like, yeah, I think that's going to be a point of contention for him coming into this offense, and Arians will probably make it very clear. I'll throw this one back to Mark to finish, but what do you think about playerprofiler.com having the best comparable player for Keyshawn Vaughn as Dalvin Cook? What do you think about that, Mark?
Now, I feel like that is kind of giving him way too much credit right off the bat. We know that he wasn't all that much of a use factor in, he just wasn't at the greatest football school with
True.
Vanderbilt. I feel like that's giving him too much credit right off the bat here. He's going into a running back system that has had its fair share of blunders over the last few years, and I'm a little bit worried myself that this might be just another running back in Tampa that doesn't really surpass being a good player or an average player. And I'm a little bit worried. We have heard the hype train act like a roller coaster over Ronald Jones in his first NFL years, and I'm just kind of concerned that they're going to see a similar pattern this year. The one safety blanket that could keep that from happening is their first round pick with Tristan Wirfs, who I thought was a fantastic pickup for this offense. He's going to give that run block for young guys like Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn, and as well as give Brady that protection that they need. So ultimately, game control is about balancing those players and getting those first downs, and guys like Tom Brady know how to do it. But you mentioned Dare Ogunbowale being such a factor with that offense last year. I feel like Keyshawn Vaughn could rely on that kind of role pretty early on in this season.
Are you just like secretly hoping that he is like a Mike Allstott?
Hey, well, it would be nice to see some records broken in that franchise because, frankly, I don't think anything's been touched in the last 15 years in that trophy case. So,
No, it's
He could
pretty
be
bare.
Doug Martin. That's not a bad little comp for him, wouldn't it be? Like Doug Martin.
Here's a question. This is how
years.
bad the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rushing is historically. Where do you think Jameis Winston finishes as the all-time rusher in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history?
I'm going to say 7th.
Not that high.
9.
16th.
No.
16th.
16. Okay.
1,044 yards. The leader is 59-57. James Wilder, Mike Allstott just behind, and then Doug Martin 4. So it's not a big list to beat. Keyshawn Vaughn, book it now.
Well, ultimate temperature on this guy, I feel like consensus kind of points to the fact that this guy might get overdrafted, but nevertheless, there is that spicy kind of we don't know what's going to happen with that backfield. And if you're a risk taker and you feel like Tampa Bay is going to go undefeated, as they clearly will in my books, you might want to get a little piece of that on your fantasy team. Thanks for sticking around and watching this video, guys. Hit subscribe on our channel. Check out some more of our content. We've got plenty outlooks on a lot of these young rookies in our league this year. And hit us on socials at snap_fantasy. And we'll keep feeding you more and more of this fantasy content. See you next time, guys.